Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where we chat with startup founders just like you from all over the globe. Each episode, we bring you practical and actionable tips to help you escape the cubicle and begin your own startup journey. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
Here's a quick word from our sponsor, Podbrand Media.
As a business owner, new sales leads are essential. At Podbrand Media, we create a branded podcast for you to generate those leads by interviewing your best potential clients as subject matter experts. Not only creating great rapport, but also great content to share in your industry. Affordable and effective. Contact us today at podbrandmedia.com to learn more.
Welcome to another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my guest today is Christina Hawatmeh. Christina, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Excited to be here.
So I would love for you to just share just a little bit about yourself. Like if you and I met at a networking event, how would you introduce yourself to me?
I am the founder and CEO of Scopio, which stands for Scope It Out, and is a platform where more than 20,000 artists upload and sell their art and images and get hired by companies like Disney, Microsoft, Meta, all the way down to the small business. I'm also a new author of The Year Time Stopped, The Global Pandemic in Photos.
That is an incredible book, and we will certainly make sure that that's in the show notes. But I love the story behind it as well, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But tell us just really quickly, how did the idea come about to start Scopio?
I was always very passionate about social change since I was a young girl, and I wanted to find something as big as I could possibly think of to spend my life working on and play in an era where there was limited opportunities for doing that. You could, if you wanted to change the world, you'd go to the UN or you'd go work in the government. But then I discovered tech, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. And I still love tech and all the new advancements. And I thought it was so cool to build a mobile app, and went on this journey to share people's stories and images and preserve imagery for the next generation as we were facing billions and billions of images that were now being uploaded on social media. That I felt like nobody's realizing how important it is that we're putting our whole life on these platforms. And I wanted to do something at that intersection.
So it's an interesting story to me how companies get their names. What were some other iterations that you thought about early on that kind of got left on the cutting room floor that didn't quite make the cut and you landed on Scopio?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. I wanted something really scientific for Scopio, and it actually came from a really funny name, which was Prostetify, protest and testify, because I was just saving protest pictures at the time, and I thought, oh, they're like, what are they doing by like uploading the photo? So I kept thinking like scientifically what's happening when they're uploading the photo, and that's where Scopio came from. And sometimes people say it's Scorpio, and I'm like, oh, they get frustrated, but it stands for Scopio, or it's Scopio, it stands for Scope It Out.
You and I had a chance to chat offline, and you mentioned one thing about, when you kind of launched your website initially, you were having some tech issues and getting it launched, and kind of felt like, hey, I missed some opportunities and I kind of failed. But I think back, and especially, during Arab Spring, how do you think a marketplace like Scopio could have changed that movement, or what impact do you think it could have had globally?
So I was thinking lately that we're living in the minds of whoever the founder is of the platform we're using. As a founder now, and seeing the responsibility I have to all the people that use Scopio, I think we're living in Mark Zuckerberg's world with Instagram, or we're living in Elon Musk's world with Twitter. And so it depends who is the brainchild behind it and what they care about. Like I go into Twitter trends and it's like sports and Meghan Markle, and I'm like, how are these trends? They're trends to whoever is developing it, but they're not really trends for people. So I think it's super important to think about it in that way and understand the importance of you as a product builder and what you're creating.
So, I mean, I love what you just brought up. So let's talk about that. Let's dive in there just a little deeper. So when you look at platforms, I mean, the naive side of me says, well, they're just responding to the desires of people, what they're searching for and things like that, kind of the zeitgeist or whatever the Google trends are. But there's also kind of an insidious side of it that says, you know what, we also want to kind of fashion what you're seeing. So it's like this two competing philosophies. It sounds like to me that you're trying to build Scopio to be a little more like agnostic and maybe authentic in the way that it responds to, searches and, that it presents information. Is that true?
I want it to be more like negative energy is very strong, and it does create a lot of virality effects when
Mm-hmm.
someone is posting something negative. For example, like I look at the celebrity content, the feud between like Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber, and I'm like, people are really profiting off of pinning them against each other
Mm-hmm.
and that virality. But we have yet in like version 2.0, and now we're even going into web 3, and we're kind of like so mature in the internet. And even in the news cycle, we've never tested positive reinforcement. Like we're building our machines to be like focusing on negative because we think that's what's newsworthy,
Yep.
but it's not what's newsworthy. Why not make something newsworthy that's popular and make that a trend? And look at this wonderful thing that happened in the
Mm-hmm.
world and how many people are supporting that. And I think we need to be a little less selfish as product builders and realize that there is more money. Like, for example, Snapchat has its user base now paying for their platform instead of using advertising against it. So we're building this negative reinforcement
Mm-hmm.
loop to get advertisers to pay for the platform, but maybe the user base will pay $2 or we could actually find positive advertising. So I think we have really need to stop and think, what are we doing to society? We have the highest rate of depression amongst teenagers in
Mm-hmm.
history. Why is that? Because they're scrolling through and seeing this hateful reinforcement
Yep.
that's viral. Like, why is it like why?
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see us test different models of positive reinforcement with one another and see what happens. I mean, it would be super fascinating. And I'm doing that with my platform, but on a scale of like Twitter or Instagram, God knows what could happen
Mm-hmm.
if that was the case.
I know that you're trying to build, you use the word democratization, kind of the marketplace. And I know you're trying to build a global marketplace for, creatives, to be able to share their content. What were some of the, from a business standpoint, what were some of the pricing models or funding models or revenue models you considered for Scopio when you first started? And where are you today? What's the current model today?
So marketplaces are very tricky because you can price per image and allow the person to price their image, but
Mm-hmm.
they're also not an expert. So they
Mm-hmm.
could be pricing higher or lower and then not meeting the market demand. Then we have the era of subscriptions, which I have now. So I had a big subscription-based platform. We started off with just a cheap plan, which was $29 a month. Then we moved into team accounts as we were getting these really big companies
Mm-hmm.
on that were using that
Right.
$29 plan. We moved them into these bigger team accounts. And then kind of the world went back into like poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And now people want something even easier than a subscription. And like, yeah, I think about myself and how much I hate subscriptions. So I always think like, would I want to pay for this? So our recent one is image packs. So you can buy packs of 5 or 25 images at a time and not be tied to a monthly retainer. And then with the commissioning, which I started like 2 years ago, and that's for hiring the artists. They have now 7,000 skills you can hire them for, everything from physical installation to painting to graphics to video, way beyond photography that you can think of, and all the different platforms, tools that you can use. And for that, I've been really learning, and I've had to do a lot of the sales meeting to understand what is the market cost. So the artist will tell us, okay, I can create 10 videos for this amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 100 people telling me their rates. Then I understand, okay, now that's the market
Right.
rate.
Right.
So my challenge now is in automating the connection between them, and Scopio is now the middlewoman.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to be where like the business is talking directly with the artist. They're able to negotiate. Everybody has a fair bid. And what I would really love to do is now with like Web3 and blockchain, I really love it because of its democratization.
Hmm.
But I think like I was at this big conference recently, and the whole conference had these art and illustrations by this Mexican artist that had done all of them. And I was thinking, instead of paying him $20,000 for the whole project, why not give him 0.01% of the conference revenue? So he becomes an equity holder in the actual
Hmm.
business. And I think if we think about it that way, we're creating so much value on both sides. I mean, there's a famous story of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg didn't have any money, so he gave like a percentage point to the guy that would paint the murals, and that guy became a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like those are awesome things. I would, if I could figure, I'm like right now, my challenge is figuring out how to do that from a platform perspective.
Hmm.
So I give people ideas of different business models, different ways to make things happen, and have everybody feel good about the business relationship that they're in.
So yeah, I mean, my entrepreneurial gears are spinning while you're talking there. I'm thinking, well, actually, I wonder if she has thought about doing this with Scopio as a whole. Like say every year we have a certain amount of profit we dedicated, and it's split between, micro shares of everybody on the platform, so to speak. And everybody gets a little stipend, kind of at the end of the year or something like that. But
I'm
I love
thinking
the
about
model.
that with advertising. So we just put up Google AdWords on the
Hmm.
platform. I've never used advertising. I'm interested to test it. I'm a curious person, so I always
Hmm.
test things. So we put that up, and I want to, once it becomes successful, or as I'm seeing it, I'll take the percentage that I usually give to artists for their image downloads as a percentage from the ad revenue. And I also don't think other people think about that,
Right.
but that's a good way to kind of be more equal and
Hmm.
have the people participate more, because the goal of any product is you want participation in that product. So
Hmm.
how can you continue to incentivize within like the monetization that exists today?
And I mean, I'm thinking of like even premium models, if you're getting people on the platform, say the first 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, there is an introductory, subscription model or whatever. But yeah,
I've
I love the way you've iterated,
I've
really like
had
it.
some people like come to me and say, make Scopio free like Unsplash, and you're gonna get a billion hits on the site. And I know that's true because those were the numbers for Unsplash because it's a free library. I think at the time they had under 1 million images, which is
Hmm.
what I have 3 million images, but they're gated in and theirs are free. So, but like I still care so much about giving that value back to the
Hmm.
people creating it.
Yeah.
So I haven't tested it, but in terms of an analytics perspective, I'm super curious to be like, yeah, well, we could have like one of the most trafficked libraries in the world if we did do that. So those are the kinds of challenges you face when you're thinking about how can I grow this thing to be so much bigger, 10x, 100x than where it
Hmm.
is today.
And I think there's no perfect like example or perfect mentor for your company, but there are a lot of like uncles and aunts, companies that you can look at and say,
Yeah.
what's applicable here from, what can I learn from Meta? What can I learn from Twitter? What can I learn from Instagram? So, and mistakes as well, mistakes they made. But are there
Yeah.
artists on there that, I mean, is it tiered? Like, do you have certain artists that are very popular that they even drive traffic to the site because of their, popularity or whatever, and there's kind of an extra incentive they get, or is it just strictly a commission based?
So artists make money on the downloads of their images from whatever which was purchased. So I just sold an image for $4,000, for example. They're going to get 40% of that.
Wow.
And then same, but I could also sell it for a $29 subscription and they make a percent,
Hmm.
40% of that.
Hmm.
So it's really gamified. Some people really don't like that, but it's also good in your favor sometimes. And it's funny because the ones that might sell for so much money are could be so basic. Actually, they are a lot of times really basic, like for a book cover or a billboard, or they really need something that they could edit.
Hmm.
So you'd be surprised. And I have not been able to derive a pattern of what images get used the most. Like in my 10 years, it's random. That's what to me is so crazy. I have 30,000 businesses that are using the images, and then we have tons of people that come and search. And I'm like, okay, they must want this. But then everybody wants something different. which is why it's important that I grow this library to be really representative of the world, because you could have an agency in India or you could have a brand in Kansas and they need something that is
Mm-hmm.
important for them. And that's really hard to teach the artists, like, give us all your stuff because like we don't know what's going to sell. And when I realized it wasn't enough that some of these amazing people were getting millions of views, they have their analytics, but maybe they make a few bucks a month and they were like frustrated. Then I started to interview them on my podcast, Scope It Out. And I did that during COVID because I was bored. And I was like, wow, these people have so many dreams. Like their dream is to work with Vogue, their dream is to work with Disney, their
Mm.
dream is, and I was like, I can call them and see if they want to work with them. And that's what I started doing. And it started to work. And I wanted to make them thousands of dollars. And now I make them tens of thousands of
Wow.
dollars. And so it really is not that people are more talented than other people. It's that they have something that somebody needs
Yeah. Yeah.
specifically. And people should, I think if they thought like that, they could get lucky.
Mm-hmm. Do you kind of help your artists think through like what is we use the word zeitgeist. What is the trending things? I mean, are you within the community saying, hey, people are really starting to search for these types of images and these, companies are really looking for this type of content and or is it just changing so quickly that would almost be obsolete by the time you published it?
Our new product advancement for the app is that there will be alerts on opportunities. So, like we just finished the screen. Next week, I'll be launching it. And every day you're going to get alerts because we get so many requests for either commissioning an artist or just a subject matter that's missing. But we've never been like, communication is super hard
Mm-hmm.
platform wise.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to invest the way I want it, the way I really want to, and to get this information across. But in terms of analytics, I'm a big AI like fan, and
Mm-hmm.
I love all the data. We have like probably a billion data points right now of like what people are saving, what people are downloading, and using those. But I've been trying to figure out how to do it without suggesting like things that will diminish their creativity. So if it's like you on the computer, this like your image is actually is a huge one that I would sell right now. Somebody working with on a podcast, that's a big seller. But I don't want to like say that their stuff is not valuable. So
Hey, I'll
I
sell
would
you this
love
for
to use
$4,000.
AI.
I mean, if you want to take this beautiful picture for $4,000,
I
it's
will.
yours.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I know companies have the ability to search and individuals can search, but can they also request through the platform? Like, can I get on there and say, hey, I'm really looking for this type of content? And is that pushed out into the community in any way?
Yes, on every artist page, you can request from that artist for more things. So there is a form that is on every artist page, and you can fill that out. And then that goes directly into the platform and with a notification to that user. So you can either buy something outright from them
Hmm.
or you can request content.
And everything within the platform.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, on a two-sided marketplace, what makes my job challenging is that I have the businesses on desktop and I have the artists mainly on mobile.
Hmm.
So the requests are coming from the computer and then they're going into the mobile app and then they're getting uploaded and then they go back to
Right.
desktop.
Right.
So the multi-channel piece is the fact that people still need to download most of their images on computers. You would think there was more mobile downloads because
Hmm.
we're usually posting them on
Hmm.
social, but there's usually a lot of things that are going on before that happens.
Hmm. That is, I mean, and it really is interesting because I mean, the generation that uses it the most is certainly more mobile, first than I think anything else. But
Well, most of our users are actually like professionals, like in their 30s, 40s, 50s
mm,
on that are using the images. And then the
like the
people
creators
contributing,
or the ones that are searching.
the ones that are searching and
Yeah.
downloading content are
Yeah.
usually, yeah, from what I've gathered and people I've spoken to and the data we have are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Hmm.
And then the artists are usually between like 20 and 40
Hmm.
that are uploading their work.
That it is, I mean, it's such a unique
If that's allowed to say, I don't
product.
know. Today it's like hard to say those things, but
Yeah. for sure. But it is, I mean, it's an enormous potential, when you talk about, the Unsplash, or you talk about the Flickrs of the world, or, Meta and Instagram. I mean, those are certainly enormous global, marketplaces. But I see that, the barrier to Scopio is just figuring it out. I mean, there's no other barrier. There's no global barrier to it. There's no, I guess, geographic barrier to it. So it is such an enormous task, and what are some lessons that you've learned along the way as you founded this company, as you're leading it, as you're casting vision, as you're interacting with the HR stuff and the daily grind of everything you've got to do? What are just one or two like nuggets that you wish you would have known when you first started that today that you could look back and maybe it helps somebody else along their journey a little bit?
I think starting off one-to-one exchanges actually work. So people think, how am I going to get thousands of people here? I could never do it. We started off by messaging people on Instagram, and we got the first 5,000 people that way. And then those people
Wow.
started telling people. But now my challenge is that that's only taken me here where I have about 20, 30,000 artists.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking, what are network effects and how do I learn about network effects within products? I clearly built the product in a way that isn't giving this like it needs to be distributing itself without me
Like a
anymore.
flywheel.
So like a flywheel. So that's product-based notifications and different viral things that a lot of the big companies and why people hire so ancestrally in Silicon Valley. It's because they know how to grow from this stage to the next one.
Yep.
And so to be able to do that without like spending all your money on Google ads or Instagram ads that's a huge challenge for me in this stage to get to the next level. Number two is you never know what random creative thought actually is important. So you have to keep practicing your creativity because if you're stuck. And then the third one is when something's working, keep doing it. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you're just like, you want to move on to the next thing. But if you find something that works, you have to keep doing it. And that discipline is super hard. And I never understood that when people would say that. Like, oh, I sent an email out and I got 10 subscribers. Like, okay, send another email out. Okay, send another email.
Yeah,
send
I'm
email.
going to do something else. That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to do something else. But that consistency and discipline. And then the most important one of all is that you're the hero. Nobody's coming to save you and nobody's going to do your job for you. You might be meeting all these people and thinking somebody's going to solve your problem. No one's going to solve your problem except for yourself.
I love that. And it's interesting just having met you today and having this conversations we've had. I can see that in spades with you. I can see that it just oozes out of your personality that you certainly have bought that mantra that says there is no one else coming. It is up.
There's so many people that help me.
Happen.
I mean, I am so lucky. Like we talked about, I ask people for favors all the time. I ask for advice all the time. I have so many people that help me, and I actually needed that, and you need that, whoever's listening. Don't think you can do it on your own.
Yep.
But the actual problem that you have, like after you go and ask your people, like you're the one that has to figure that out. Like I was a part of SVB bank collapse. One day I woke up, all my money was gone, and Silicon Valley Bank was closed. I was like, this is my job today that I have to go get all my money from a bank that closed down that was supposed to be, a stable bank.
Yeah.
Like no one else is going to be the person that does this right now. So you have these like really hard things that you have to do. And like, nobody's going to do them for you, but you. And that's what I mean is like, hunker up, That's like a war term. I won't use that, but got to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And certainly it'll be interesting to see, just kind of watch the journey of Scopio over the next year or so, next 2, 3, 5 years. And just to see, because I mean, it's, you're in what version 2.0 or whatever that the version that exists. I mean, what does 3.0 look like? I mean, you're going to learn things the next year and 2 years that are going to be life changing, and career changing for you that I have a feeling you're going to be able to pivot and adapt, to whatever comes. But
it's a challenging environment right now. I mean, it's not easy for anyone, whether you're the biggest company in the world or the smallest company in the world. Like the amount of new technologies that you have to learn. I've
Oh,
become a
wow.
student again.
Yep.
And you never know what is like, especially AI generated images. Like
Hmm.
there's so many different things now, you can't fall behind. But what I built Scopio is as a community-based platform. Like I really want anyone that is a part of it, whether they're getting images, hiring somebody, or whether you're an artist, to really feel like it's yours to build.
Hmm.
Like I'm only one person, but these people, like if you love it and you want to see this grow, share it on your social media, tell your friends about it. Do things to help make that successful. Don't think that just because something is built is that
Hmm.
that's all it takes, especially when you call it a community. Like it really takes everybody to come to the potluck
Yeah.
dinner, and
Yeah.
do their share. And I that's my challenge right now with the audience that I have is there everyone asking me for things, but I think it's time I ask everybody for help and start to get the word out more. And I feel like a lot of people know about Scopio, but still we have a long way to go.
Well, please close us out today by telling people where the best place to find you. Highlight that book that you have sitting right
Yes.
beside you, and how people can get on the platform.
So this book is a historic book on 2020 that will literally live in your household for the next 100 years. I believe it was featured at the Grammys with given to Jill Biden, Beyonce, Rihanna, and so many more presenters, and winner of the Mind Award for so like stimulating topics of different stories from people that will inspire you. You can find it on every major retailer: Amazon, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Target, anywhere around the world. And you'll be supporting these incredible voices. You can follow us on Scopio Images, and our app is called Scopio in iOS and Android. Please download it, add a profile, and share who you are or discover other talented people and follow them on the platform.
We will certainly make sure those are in the show notes. And Christina, thank you so much for just taking time. It's been a true pleasure to meet you virtually and to hear your story. And I know that you spent a lot of time today, sharing with me, your history and what it is you're heading toward. And I'm excited to see that. But just really just doing your part and playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Christina, have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you heard some great takeaways. Make sure you follow up with our guests today and show them the support they deserve. As always, thank you for listening and playing your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide.